Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, we will be talking about this growing threat, potential, whatever you want to call it, for a winter storm, a pretty large one as well, across much of the western states of the United States and into southwestern Canada. Again, this will be enabled by a rather abrupt and large pattern change that will be taking shape across the western states and southwestern Canada in particular. It won't be really felt across the eastern United States, but it's definitely a sign of these intrusions of winter, if you will, getting closer and closer to reality for many folks. And I am calling this a winter storm not because of when it's occurring, but because of the precipitation types it's bringing. Some people think a winter storm only warrants itself to be called a winter storm if it's occurring during the winter, and I disagree. I go by what precipitation types it brings. So yes, a winter storm is possible even in June if there is one that brings snow. So before we get into this, if you guys would like to subscribe to this channel, I'm not telling you to do it now, calm down. I'm not begging for your subscription. I'm just letting you know, reminding you that if you do end up enjoying this video, watching my other videos and enjoying this channel, consider doing that. Consider leaving the thumbs up button, and if you have any comments, concerns, regards, leave them down below. I answer most comments on every single video. So let's get into this. So first off, I want to show you the GFS model and start talking about, well, how the system is taking shape. So right off the bat, I want to mention that this system is still a bit away. In fact, it's a relatively long time away. However, the confidence continues to grow because it's continuously shown in all three weather models, the major kind of groups, the European, the Canadian, and GFS. It's been shown for several days now, and it is now getting obviously closer to day by day. We will have to wait and see for all the details, but let me show you model by model. Let's start off with the GFS, Global Forecasting System. Notice across the southern United States, we do have some rain that will continue to impact portions of Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, and this will eventually move to the north, and you can see that does bring some rain into Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, West Virginia. Again, light rain, light to moderate rain, nothing too significant. Definitely more of a nuisance for those that don't want it, and probably not enough for those that need it very bad. So that's pretty well put. But do notice, look across Nevada, Utah, California, the West. Look at all that precip starting to gather. That's not from that winter storm, but it is kind of a showing that the activity across the western United States is it's heightening. And look, this Sierra Nevada sees some snowfall, and into Nevada, Utah, Colorado, Wyoming, into portions of even Arizona, possibly. This one keeps it a bit to the north of you. And using that moisture from the south and from that kind of that Pacific moisture, it develops into a pretty decent system, drops some rain across, again, Wyoming, the Dakotas, Minnesota, and it actually does bring some pretty strong and intense winds across the northern United States. You can see right there, those are southerly winds. Those are winds coming from the north and west. So again, no snow, but definitely windy and rainy for a good portion of the United States. And I just want to show you that just through 138 hours, the U.S. And southern Canada ends up picking up quite a bit of rainfall already. And let me show you this. There we go. You can see, again, favoring the east with that system we have going on right now. And the west right there, Utah, Nevada, northern locations, seeing up to an inch in some areas. You know, that is very, very good. A lot of these locations haven't seen much rain in the past really 2 to 3 years. They've seen some, obviously, but this won't, this one rain event won't change anything, but hopefully it's a sign of what's to come of this winter. More and more of these kind of precipitation events, and, it's very bad across the West if you haven't heard about the drought and really all the wildfires out there, so especially the drought. So that is good news. Notice it does spin away, and this is where things get interesting. Look across the Northwest and southern Canada. We start seeing a lot of snow and a lot of precip, and this snow doesn't just stay into, the Canadian areas. It spills into, well, the United States. Look at that. Nevada, Utah, Idaho. Idaho sees quite a bit of snow from this, especially portions of the southern Idaho. Some models show much more. The GFS, not as much. We could see this blue, all these blue lines, right? That is below 32 degrees, according to this model. And you could see that is represented by the 2-meter temperature anomaly, which means pretty much it's taking the average from 1981 through 2010 of this given date, right? And it says, okay, so the average for Idaho, say, is, again, I'm just estimating here, probably around 55, right? and it's going to be 45. So that means that anomaly would show 10 degrees below average, and in this case, it's again, it's doing that similar thing I just described, but obviously I don't know if it actually is 55 the average. It depends on the location and whatnot. But that's how anomalies work. So you saw it's very cold, and that's why it allows this rainmaker to turn into a winter storm, a snowstorm. And look, we do see quite a bit of snow across Wyoming, into Colorado, Nebraska, the Dakotas. It's a very strong system, and where it doesn't rain, well, it snows. Or sorry, where it doesn't snow, it rains pretty heavily. Strong winds as well. I do want to mention that the closer the models keep this system to the mountains, the more snow will fall from this. The further it drags it out into Minnesota, Iowa, the core of the snow will kind of start falling apart as there's less cold air to tap into. The cold air will stay across the west, and it's whether or not this low pressure does as well. Obviously, where the heaviest precip is ongoing, it kind of makes enough cold air for itself, and that's why you see these weird colorations. It's raining on the backside, snowing right there. That is because where it's oftentimes where you have extremely heavy precip and the temperatures are very borderline marginal, the intensity, kind of the cool air this precip brings down could convert it to snow, and that's usually what happens on like these borderline rain snow scenarios. And you can see that that could result in quite a bit of snow, and this is all the way into the Dakotas. Again, this is just one model. Some show a lot more snow for Montana, Wyoming, and keep it more towards the eastern area. Some drag it out even further towards the east. I should say western areas. Some drag it out further to the east. And look, regardless of what happens, it's a large system with rain or snow, pushes into Canada, and then we do see a bit of a break. And that's the system. So you can see by the time it's 264 hours out, it's done, and it will be making landfall, if you will, by 138 hours. So by this upcoming Sunday. So it used to be, it's very far out. Now it's definitely in a medium range. Whether or not it's going to change as it approaches the short range is really the question. Total snowfall, obviously, I don't really like looking at this because sometimes these totals are over exaggerated or they have some sort of flawed detail. But notice obviously where it would occur, that would be pretty good amounts of it, probably a quick 4 to 6 inches, assuming a 10-to-1 ratio. Some of this would probably be even lower because of how wet that would be. But obviously if it were to occur across Wyoming, Montana, it would be a lot more snow. But the GFS current model doesn't show that. The previous one, 6 hours ago, you could see it was slightly different, kept it more inland, kept it more into the mountains, intermountainal. And you could see into Wyoming there would be a lot more snow. The one from 6 o'clock in the morning showed quite a bit more, but towards southern Canada and North Dakota and Montana. So you can see there are differences, but you can see regardless a snowy pattern of whether or not what occurs. 12 hours ago, this is what the model showed. You could see a lot more from Montana, right? Made a video about that. And this time it's still snowy, just a bit again of a different track. Let's take a look at another model. Another model I really like is the Canadian. So again, I showed you one model, and it has a lot of variances and whatnot, but that's just one of many models, which makes this, forecasting a lot kind of hard because you have many models to look at, but it also makes it easier because if you have just one model, that one model could be totally wrong. And, well, if you have one model, you think it's totally right because it's only one that shows it, right? But if you have many and only one shows it, then that one's probably incorrect. So look what the Canadian does. It shows that system across the east, brings in that precipitation across. You could see Colorado, Utah, into Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, Oregon, Washington, and into the plains. Look at that. Into Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, Missouri, Illinois. Look at that cold front it develops on that system. Way stronger than what the GFS does. Potentially some severe weather into Missouri, Arkansas, maybe into Tennessee, Kentucky. Along the northeast, look at that. New Jersey, potentially Pennsylvania, seeing a decent low pressure off the coast, bringing again, unfortunately, very potentially heavy amounts of rain, which would not really be good for those locations as they've been rather wet. But you can see it doesn't hug the coast for too long as it kind of shoves away. But look, right there, the Canadian brings in that cool air around the time of around almost exactly a week from now. And you can see into Idaho, Washington, Montana, we see that snowfall, that cool air. Look, this one balloons a lot more snow across Utah than what the GFS does. It keeps a lot more snow into Montana, Wyoming. In other words, it keeps the system closer to the mountains, which allows more cold air and snow to fall as a result. And look at that, southeastern Wyoming, panhandle of Nebraska, into much of the Colorado area and South Dakota. North Dakota don't see as much because it's closer to the mountains, so it's more of a rain scenario. But where the snow does fall, it's quite a bit more than what the GFS shows with its most recent scenario. And you can see, we have definitely amounts in higher elevations, 3 to 4 feet probably, and in the lower lying elevations, potentially even up to 12 to 18 inches of snow. You can see the Nebraska Panhandle potentially getting in on a few inches as well. So definitely something we'll have to keep an eye on for. Total accumulated precip, snow and rain kind of shown all together. You can see the state of Wyoming, Utah, Nevada, Arizona all get in on that, but especially the bullseye across the plains, especially if you get more than one system occurring in the next few kind of weeks, which a lot of models do show. Not all of them, only one of them will be the snowstorm, but they all will bring some kind of rain, and that is good for that part of the country. It's pretty much there's a drought anywhere east or west of the Mississippi you go. So as you put this forward, what we see is on the European model. I do want to mention this is a third model I'm showing you, and look, so it shows that rain system, right? Southeast being plagued with those showers. They don't really need it. It's been a pretty wet year for the southeast. The west would need it more, right? And they do see some of that precip. Look into this upcoming Friday, Saturday. That's the first wave, not the snowstorm, and it does push off into the east. And notice we do start seeing moisture again, kind of from the south. We do see that pattern change, that very chilly air mass into Idaho, Nevada, Utah. Quite a bit of snow and rain. I would say it's a bit less aggressive on the cold air than what the other two models were showing this European, but it does end up still developing a pretty nasty system. And look at that. It keeps it a bit further away from the mountains, but also with a bit of less colder air, so not as much snow, but look at that. That is some severe weather right there for sure going on. And as it spreads into Canada, it does become more of a snowmaker. But again, not as impressive as what it showed potentially yesterday. And this is the thing. We'll, this far out, we will continue to see waverings in these models. Some keep this system a bit earlier, some later, some much stronger, some less stronger, some less snowier but stronger, some weaker but more snowier. And the next 240 hours that will change as many times as it wants to. So we're kind of under the mercy of that. But notice that the European still does show snow, and you could still almost call it a winter storm. Maybe not as much as what the European was showing. Again, even a model run ago, it was a bit more. Actually, no, sorry. A model run ago, it was even less aggressive because it took the system out into the Dakotas, but it brought a bit more because of that into Wyoming, the Panhandle. 12 hours ago, or sorry, 24 hours ago, I think it was a bit more aggressive. And yes, it was just starting to show that system kind of evolve at the 240-hour mark. And you can see right there, it was definitely, let's see, where are you? It was definitely a bit more snowy than what we're seeing right now. But again, the European kind of by itself wasn't the biggest proponent of the snowy scenario in terms of this. But while the European by itself may not, it's kind of placed in the European with a bunch of ensembles. So it's its whole family of models. There's 51, so pretty much has 51 siblings, this model, right? And let's see what they show. The next 15 days, I turn on to Snowfall. So again, that's something what the European showed, more on a conservative side. Still snowy, but more conservative. Here's again one that's a bit more conservative. Here's one that does show a system into Wyoming, Colorado, definitely bringing, you could tell because it brings that snow out into the Dakotas. Here's one that shows quite a bit, but again, it keeps that core across kind of Montana and Idaho right there, that snowstorm. Again, that is definitely still unusual for this time of the year. This one, again, shifts that core, but further towards the east, again, showing a pretty large snowstorm. This is the P5. You can see it shows not as much snow for the eastern areas of the west, but the west, look at that. That is definitely some decent snowfall totals. Much more, again, than you typically see. This one centers a snowfall on Utah, Nevada, Wyoming. Decent snowfall, and I could call that still a winter storm, and I think most of it. This is just more of a snowy pattern, not really a winter storm. This one, you can see, has a pretty large area of snowfall across southern Montana, Idaho, Wyoming. Definitely a powerful snowstorm. This one, again, a powerful snowstorm. This one, definitely a powerful system. That's not just a mountain seeing that snow. That's also many lower elevations. This is, again, a bit less, but still, you could see that core of this system would be across Idaho, Montana, Nevada, and there's quite a few that stick it out further towards the east, and some that stick it out way further towards the east, which I'll show you in just a minute, showing the Dakotas. But again, there's our core kind of that storm. Montana, according to this model, seeing a lot. Idaho. This one kind of divides it. You can see there's one batch right here, one batch right there, and eventually a third batch way to southern Canada right there. So interesting to see. Definitely still a early season snowmaker. Look at this one. It shows a ton of snow into British Columbia and Alberta, Canada, but again, it's a bit further back, so not as much for the U.S., but a lot for Canada. This one does show some snow and actually very far out to the east, so that's definitely interesting. This one a bit more conservative. This one is, again, pretty liberal with that snow. This one shows a lot for Oregon, and not so much areas east. Look at this one. That one explodes it with snow. This one again, but more further towards the west. This one's more further towards the south and east across Colorado. You can see that clear jump between the ensembles. Here's one further to the north. Here's one that's a bit more scattered, more of a snowy pattern with a few snow chances. Maybe not a snowstorm. Here, that's a clear snowstorm right there. So is this one. You can see as it rides up to the north. This one stretches out way further towards the east, probably as far east as any of the models do. This one shows a massive one, but for southern Canada. Again, this isn't a giant mountain here. These are prairies, plains, especially as you get to where it borders Saskatchewan. So definitely, that would be a massive system, just maybe not for the U.S., but for Canada, which I still forecast for. And look, right there, further towards the west. This one is a bit, again, further towards the west. Look at that one, extreme amount. So again, just because this European model didn't show as much, a lot of its members, you could see, are showing excitement. Some aren't as much. You can see it drags it out very far to the east, this one. This one, shows a lot of snow, I would say, for Montana. Look at that one. That's quite a bit right there. Look how much it shows for the Sierra Nevada in that model. This one keeps it again further into Canada. This one across more of Wyoming. This one more into Colorado, Wyoming, and a bit of southern Canada again being favored. Look at that one. That is definitely an impressive storm. This one stretches out all the way into central Nebraska. This one stretches out into the North Dakota area, kind of the South Dakota, southern Canada. This one, more of a snowy pattern. Again, not really maybe a snowstorm. That right there is a bullseye of over 30 inches of snow, so that's impressive. And you can see that not every model, you can see some even show barely any snow at all, really, for elevated areas, and some for Nebraska and Wyoming, kind of the lower elevations, which is a bit odd, but a lot of them do show, a beast of a system. And let's take a look at this one and play it out with the model running through the simulated radar. It wasn't working earlier, so I don't know if it will work now. And yeah, for some reason it's not. You can see it just doesn't show up, but I want to see if maybe we could take a look at this MSLP. Yeah, so this is what we could look at, but it doesn't show the rain versus snow. It just shows us the precipitation. So again, I just chose a random model, the 49 to 1 that kind of favored a ton of snow for Canada, southern Canada, and northern Montana. So those are our first systems, not the snowmakers. And here's where our snowmaker comes. Look at that spinning away across Montana again. Pretty bright colors for a snowstorm. That's indicative of a lot of precipitation. And look, that stays for several days. They're spinning away 986, 987 millibars. Develops a strong cold front due to the plains. And look, it spins away. Look at all that. That you could imagine would be all snow if we could see the precip type, but we can't. And yeah, a lot of rain for the central United States from that cold front of that system. We still see it right there lingering back. And again, the west continues to stay active even after that system passes through. You can see with more chances of precip, and that system continuing to drag its cold front towards the east. All right, guys, that was a ton of information, I do know, but hopefully you enjoyed, hopefully you learned something new, and hopefully you got excited for this system, because again, it's not going away anytime soon. It's looking more and more likely to happen, and I do want to show you one quick thing, actually. Let's take a look at the GFS members. This is 31 models of the GFS family. I showed you the European family, but I like showing you the European one because this one I only can show you by region. So let's go to the Midwest. It shows really where the system might occur at its best. And you can see right there, 2 hours, hour 276, the newest model run, so they're not fully loaded, but loaded enough to show us. And look, a lot of them do show snow across kind of the frontier of the Rockies. A lot of them actually dragging it out. The GFS kind of favors it into, well, the plains. You can see some light snow into even Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota. Some show more very heavy snow, but further towards the west, and some just keep it towards the mountains, Wyoming and Colorado and whatnot. So definitely a snowstorm, and the models are all rather excited about that. I could show you, actually, I'm curious myself if the United Kingdom model, yeah, it doesn't go out far enough, 144 hours. I was curious whether or not it would show it, but at 144 hours, it won't show any snow because that's not when the system is occurring. All right, well, that's pretty much it, folks. That's all I have for you. Wait, let's take a look at the let's take a look at the climate forecast model. So this is a model that goes out ridiculously far, and it's usually equally as ridiculously inaccurate. But let's see what it shows in terms of snowfall across the United States. So again, this one goes out almost a month out. So let's see where it starts showing. Oh, it shows some decent snow here towards late October. Maybe some more cool air across the eastern United States. But yeah, I mean, that is actually remarkably not snowy really for the U.S. with this weather model, which is probably going to be accurate. I don't think there will be many snowstorms, as there will be probably more of a warmer pattern. You can see this model does bring in some shots of cool air, but yeah, nothing extraordinary. All right, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next episode. See ya. Bye.